Well, welcome to 20 Minutes with Mike. I'm so pleased that you're joining me today. I think I have a very interesting presentation today. I'm going to be talking about the old saying of there's what you want to have in your business, there's what you think's going on in your business, and there's what's really going on in your business. So we're going to do a little deep dive on that and why that's so important, and why knowing what really is going on in your business is absolutely critical. All right, let's get started. So there's an old saying that there's what you think is going, or what you want to have happen in your business, what you think is happening in your business, and what's really happening in your business. And I've had exposure to many law firms, some very directly, some by just working with other lawyers from across the country in a variety of different practice areas. And I've come to the conclusion that where people really struggle is in the first two things. So what do they really want their business to be? And what is really going on with their business? The second one, what they think is going on in the business. Everybody has an opinion, right? Everybody, thinks that they know what's going on in their business. But I think the evidence actually shows that that's not necessarily true unless you were following the steps that we're going to talk about. So let's discuss the very first part. What do you want for your business? Now, this is really what one would call your vision or your mission. And I think the challenge for most people is that the vision that they have for their business is just not as clear as it should be. We all have, an idea, I want to make X amount of dollars, or I want to, I want to have a successful business. We use kind of platitudes that are really difficult to measure, maybe even impossible to measure. Say, I want to make more money. Well, what does make more money mean? Is that, 50 cents more, $1 more, $1,000 more, $100,000 more? What does that really mean? The idea behind a vision that's actually meaningful, a vision that actually is going to make a difference, is one that's clear and measurable and has a timeline. Now, one that you can actually, you can feel it and you can sort of taste it, and you can, it's visceral with you. This is something that you want to accomplish. And when you run into those days that, you're just struggling, and we're all going to have those, right? There is, there's nobody who's going to go through a business situation or, building a business or running a business, and there's not going to be any tough days. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. So how do you get through those days where things are rough? The phone's not ringing, clients aren't signing up, people aren't paying, in the law practice, the judge ruled against you, you lost the case, you got a bad review. I mean, there's just an infinite number of things that can happen that, really can cause you to be unhappy with what's going on. So how do you move forward? And and that is really having a clear and precise vision. What is it that you want to accomplish? Now, I used to think that, or I got stuck, I guess would be really the better terminology, in that a vision has to be philanthropic in some way, world peace, or, goodwill towards men, or, win all my cases, or something like that. And I came to the conclusion that that's not necessary. That's admirable. But a vision can be really egocentric. And I know that really made a big difference for me. I was associated with a bunch of small law firms, and several of them were, doing $1 million gross. and I really, really wanted to be part of what I called the $1 Million Club. And I hadn't reached that. And so I set a goal to do $1 million gross revenue. And one of the things I did is I actually put a plaque or an award, if you will, on my bookshelf that said the $1 Million Club, and it had a date on it. And that really, really drove me, even though, in reality, it was very ego driven because, there's nothing actually magical about $1 million, although it kind of feels that way. There were other things that I wanted to accomplish, but I knew that if I hit $1 million revenue, a lot of those other things would come into focus, and a lot of other things would be accomplished. And so I really just focused on trying to hit that goal. And, when I'd have, a slow month, or, a week where very few leads came in, or we got no clients, I could look at that and it would drive me. And then, I would look at my bank account every single day, and that just continued to drive me forward because it was real, it was tangible, it was a measurable number, and it had a date. And then we finally hit that mark, and I was able to say, hey, I'm a member of the $1 Million Club. I've got a 7-figure law firm. And so the next year, I did the same thing, except for this time I made the date even earlier because I wanted to prove to myself that it wasn't a one-off, that it wasn't just something that happened, but that I could continue to repeat it. I had to put this in place. So my point of this is that your goals don't necessarily, or your vision doesn't necessarily have to be philanthropic. It can be ego-driven, as long as it works for you. Now, the next part that I want to talk about is it kind of plays into that and is probably even more important. And that is what is actually going on in your business. Now, we all have an opinion as to what's going on. And I will tell you, based on my experience of working with lots of other law firms tangentially through mastermind groups, actually sitting down with them and talking about, what's going on with them. They have an opinion about what's going on, but when we actually crunch the numbers and we really figure it out, we find out that they're just not correct. Without measuring the data, they truly don't know. And that's really the point here that is critical to make, is that if you want to know what's going on in your business, or if you want to know what's going on in your financial life, even if it's just personal, let's say you're an associate and you're not running a business, but you want to know really what is going on in your personal life. You want to save money to buy a house, or you want to, pay off your student loan or whatever. You really need to have the data in order to figure it out. Now, I'm going to use the example of running a business today, and I'm going to use numbers that our firm has. If you have a law firm, or you're running a law firm, your numbers are going to be different, probably. The numbers that I'm going to talk about are numbers that I know are accurate over extended periods of time. I have years and years worth of data about these particular numbers, and I know that they're accurate. And so that's what I'm going to use, because I'm going to encourage you right now, you maybe take a break, go get a pencil and a paper, because we're going to do some math. And I know, most of us hate doing math, but it really, my mentor and good friend, Richard James, said that, business really is only math. So let's get started here. So let's say that you decide you want to make $10,000 a month. And I'm going to use round numbers because the math is a lot easier. So let's say you decide you want to do $10,000 a month. So what is that? And this will be before taxes. I'm not going to complicate things by that way. So that means you're doing $120,000 a year. And that's going to be money, let's say, in your pocket. All right. And let's say that you're running your firm and your owner's share is 30%. Okay. So, or let's say 33%. Let's just keep the numbers really simple. So what does that mean? That means that in order for you to put $120,000 in your pocket, if your owner share is 33%, your firm has got to generate $360,000 gross revenue. The other $240,000 is going to go for your overhead, your rent, your employees, whatever, all your LexisNexis and your software and your Adobe and your Microsoft and your computers and your desk and all of those other expenses, right? Okay, so that's your vision. Your vision is to do $120,000, and in order to get there, you've calculated that you need to do $360,000 of gross revenue. All right. So the next question is, what is your average client value? And let's say your average client value is $5,000 a client. Okay, some are going to be more, some are going to be less. The easiest way to figure out what your average client value is, look at what your gross revenue is and divide it by the number of clients you have. That's the easy way. There's more complicated ways, but that's really the simplest way. Okay, so if you are looking at $600 or $360,000 and your average client value is $5,000, so you divide 360,000 divided by 5,000. That means that you need 72 clients a year. Okay. All right. 72 clients divided by 12. That means that you need 6 clients a month. Okay, that doesn't sound terribly daunting, 6 clients a month, although I will tell you that, that might be, depending on your practice area, that may be pretty challenging. All right, now, here's the things that you need to be measuring, in my opinion. You need to measure the number of leads that come in. You need to know how many times people are raising their hand and either sending an email, phone call, text messaging, however it is that you get your leads. How many of those come in? Okay, so your leads. You need to know how many of those are qualified. So I will just tell you that in our experience, about 70% of all the leads that come in are qualified. Now, for us, qualified doesn't have anything to do with money. Qualified has to do with, do they have a legal problem that we deal with in a jurisdiction that we do it? So in other words, do they have a criminal problem? Since we're a criminal defense firm, do they have a criminal problem in one of the counties that we work in? So you could have a criminal problem in LA. That's not qualified because we're not going to LA. You could have a family law problem in Sacramento. Yeah, we work in Sacramento, but we don't do family law. So you got to figure out, okay, 70, and our numbers, your numbers may be different, but our numbers are about 70% of all leads are qualified. How many of those actually set appointments? Well, historically, we have found that about 60% of the qualified leads that call in will set an appointment. Okay. How many of those people who actually set appointments show up? Now, a lot of people go, oh, well, they all show up. That's not true. That is not true. I wish it was true, but it's not. We have a very robust system. We're kind of like your dentist, man. We send you texts and emails and call you up to remind you of your appointments. But even with all of that, about 90% of the appointments that get set show up. So 1 out of 10 don't, despite our best efforts. And then how many of those hire? So about 33%, about a third of them hire. Some months it's much better, 50%, sometimes over 50% higher. Other times it's lower. Okay, so let's work those numbers backwards. We have decided that we need 6 clients a month, right? So if you take 6 and you divide it by 33 or 0.33, what that tells you is that you need 18 clients to show up, right? 18 of those appointments to actually show up. Now, so out of that 18, since we know that only 90% show up, so you take the 18 and you divide it by 0.9, and that means that we need to have 20 appointments actually set in a month. So what is that? That's 5 a week. Okay, to get our six clients. These are our numbers. Again, I just want to reiterate, your numbers may be better or they may be worse. But once you start to have the data, you will know what you can anticipate. All right, so we got 20. Now, what does that mean? If 60% of the qualified appointments set an appointment, or qualified leads set an appointment, then how many of those do we need to set? Well, 60% of the qualified leads set appointments. So it'd be 20 divided by 0.6. That means that we need 33 qualified leads a month. And what do we say? 70% of all the leads are qualified. So we take the 33 divided by 0.7. That means that we need 47 leads a month in order to get 6 clients. Okay, so now we've done the math. And so now we know, are you hitting those numbers? For us, it's really easy to figure out if we're not getting enough clients, where's the problem? Is it a problem with leads? Is it a problem with our set rate? Is it a problem with people showing up? Or is it a problem with our hiring rate? This is a real simple mechanical way of going, where do I need to spend energy and effort to figure out where the problem is? A lot of times, you know, the knee-jerk reaction for most firms is, oh, I'm not getting enough leads. Well, I can tell you based on experience that I've had, you know, we've had plenty of leads. They've been setting appointments. They've been showing up, but they're not hiring. And what I found out, 1 month in particular, I remember this very distinctly, the set rate or the hire rate really dropped. And so I started asking myself, why is that? Since at that particular time, I was doing most of the intakes. And what I realized is that I had gotten off script. You know, we have a script of how we do our intakes. You know, there's a protocol of how we go through the process to establish value and, you know, before we ever talk about price and that sort of thing. And what I realized that I had gotten off script. Once I got back on script, numbers went right back there. So a lot of times you know, there's low hanging fruit there is that, you know, maybe your show rate has dropped off. Well, maybe what that means is that your staff is not following the protocol of getting, you know, the follow-ups of calling and reminding people to come in. Maybe your set rate has dropped, and that's generally a function of scripts. Or maybe, in fact, your leads have dropped off, and there's a problem there. You know, it is very rare that we don't get at least 1 lead a day. If our leads really start to drop, the first thing I do is I take a look and make sure the website's still up. I mean, I've had friends whose website went down for whatever reason. The host went down or there was a problem with their website and they didn't know about it for weeks. Well, how devastating would that be to your business? All right, so the only way that you can really know what's going on in your business is to track all of this. And while it sounds like a monumental effort, once you learn how to do it and once you start putting things into place, it actually is quite simple and it just becomes the standard operating procedure. One of the things that I offer when I work with lawyers who are trying to get their businesses rolling and become profitable is to teach, how do you track? And there's very simple ways to do it. You can use a spreadsheet, you can use Google spreadsheet or an Excel spreadsheet. And there's all the way up to very fancy CRMs. But if you're a small firm, you don't need to spend a fortune. You don't need to go to Salesforce or, one of these really high-end, super expensive CRMs in order to track all this stuff. You can literally do it. And we originally started doing it literally with a piece of paper. And then we went to, a computer spreadsheet. It can be done quite simply, but the critical thing is that you've got to track. All right. The crow's going off, which means we're at 20 minutes and he's howling now. There we go. So that's it for today. I hope that you find this helpful. I am available for, to help get people through this process, it is so critical that you actually know what's going on in your business, because experience tells me, and I think it tells a lot of people, that what you think is going on probably isn't completely accurate. It might be close, but you really, really need to know if you want to hit that vision that you've set for yourself. So you can contact me at mikechastain.com. You can set up a free appointment. I'm happy to go over with you and interview you and determine whether or not this is something that I can help you with. All right, everybody, I hope you all have a great day. And remember, be grateful for what you have and be willing to work for what you want. All right, y'all take care.